And those deaths are something lawmakers wanted answers for. During hearings on Tuesday, senators confronted Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth on past claims that Iran's military and missile capabilities had been destroyed.
So why are there missiles left to hit Jordan and result in the loss of life of our brave men and women?
As we stated from the beginning, the Iranian defense industrial base is effectively gone, but they do have underground facilities because they're the world's leading state sponsor of terrorism, and they've spent 47 years trying to hide their missiles under mountains, just like their nuclear capabilities, because they would like to get a nuclear weapon to wield it against us.
Of the war to believe, because it's either over or it's not over. It's within 2 weeks or it's not 2 weeks. We have no missiles or we have missiles.
So joining me now, Congressman Pat Harrigan, Republican of North Carolina. Thank you so much for being here.
Audie, it's great to be with you. Thanks
I want to get to this hearing because there are a lot of questions here. You're on the House Armed Services Committee. Do you agree with what Senator Gillibrand had to say? She outlined a long list of contradictions.
Well, I think there is a misunderstanding over what the initial objectives were from the outset of the conflict and what has actually been achieved. And I think the Secretary gave a very honest answer to her question, which is we have destroyed their ability to produce ballistic missiles. They also have a significant inventory of ballistic missiles that they have hidden underground all across the country that they bring out to shoot at America and our allies in the region. That is going to be a continuing concern the longer this conflict goes.
At the same time, they did not put in their request for funding money to pay for the military bases that have been damaged, which I find really baffling. You've got Prince Sultan Air Base, right, which was attacked in Jordan, the Sati Air Base in Qatar, in Kuwait, in Bahrain. We have facilities where we know what's been damaged. And yet, just to look at that image of all of these places, and yet they don't put that money in their request. Are they lowballing this?
I don't think that they're lowballing this. I think they're trying to give the American people an honest assessment of where things are today.
But it's not honest if those things aren't in there.
I think you have to look at what our future force posture will actually look like. Because of the proliferation of very inexpensive and capable technologies like those offensive technologies that Iran possesses and is using against the United States, there is a legitimate concern of whether we should actually further distribute our footprint across the region to actually reduce the threat to force and reduce the threat to mission.
But you can see why it might be confusing for lawmakers or the public, right? You're saying we need this money for the troops. We need this money for the battlefield theater. And then meanwhile, you're not spending money on the stuff that was damaged. You're sitting on money from the last reconciliation bill, upwards of, what, $75 billion that they have. But they're not coming to Congress and saying, hey, let us just transfer some of the money we're sitting on. They're asking for more.
Well, that's actually what happens if the Pentagon runs out of money the third week of August if a supplemental does not actually go through.
You could, just because I covered Congress, I'm going to nerd out. You could go to Congress and say, we need a bill that's just about military readiness that will transfer the money we have already that we're sitting on, allow us to spend it because we need it right away.
But
they're not doing that. No, what they're doing is saying, make a budget bill, attach a bunch of things onto it like the SAVE Act, and then pass it. That seems like a way harder road than using the money you have.
The reason that there's a separate supplemental is because reconciliation dollars are actually designed to offset the long-term strategic underfunding that we've had in our defense.
But their argument is a short-term request. They're saying we need stuff right now.
Let me finish, Audie.
No, but I want to understand this.
And I'm trying to help you understand it. Reconciliation dollars should be forward-looking dollars. They should be actually investing in the new technologies that our Defense Department actually needs to be successful, to credibly deter our adversaries, not just Iran, but Russia and China. If we move and we reallocate those dollars from those forward-looking investments to operational expenses, we lose that forward-looking capability that we've deferred for 30 years. It's incredibly impactful to the future of our nation's defense and our ability to reestablish a credible deterrence.
Why attach something like the SAVE Act to this then?
Well, look, I've actually not been in favor of that because I think what it does, because it's so, it's incredibly controversial, right? It's completely down party line. And what it does is it takes a must-pass bill, which is our nation's defense spending bill each and every year, and I think it takes it from a must-pass bill to a not must pass bill. And I think that's incredibly impactful in such a negative way to the future of our nation's defense. We should split those two things. We have split those two things, but I think we trifled with it for too long. That 2 weeks that we lost of legislative time, we aren't going to get back, and we've got a lot of complicated issues to deal with. Now, I've supported the SAVE Act. I'll continue to support the SAVE Act. I think it's incredibly important that we have fair and secure elections in our country, that you've got to show
but
ID to show up,
and that defense spending.
And that Americans need to be voting in our elections, but not attached to defense spending.
So Donald Trump, in a Truth Social post, pointed to the Afghanistan war. He noted 20 years running, 2,000 dead. Iraq war, 9 years running, more than 4,500 dead. Vietnam war, 19 years. It goes on and on like this. As someone who has fought in one of these wars, I would really like your opinion on this kind of argument from the administration that says, just give us more time. And I ask this because you have said in a public statement, time is a weapon and not one to the U.S.'s benefit.
Time is not on our side. And at the end of the day, we have to understand that our military doctrine and how that doctrine is supported by our defense industrial base with incredibly expensive yet very capable technologies, we are not prepared to fight protracted conflicts. Every single protracted conflict that we've fought since the end of World War II, we have lost.
So is this what you call a strategy of drift? Is that what you're looking at with this administration?
That's what's at risk right now, and what I have been advising the administration very sternly on since the beginning of this war is that Iran owns the time. We do not own the time. The longer this conflict goes on, the higher our bar or threshold becomes for success, the lower Iran's threshold or bar becomes to define success. We need to be very careful here, and we need to stop expecting that a limited war is going to deliver us unlimited strategic results.
What do you say to North Carolinians? You've got 4 American soldiers returning home today in coffins, right? You've got, one of them is a father who was from your state. Pete Hegseth may want to give us Teigmeyer, you guys are all impatient. What do you say to the people in your state, to these families?
Well, look, anytime that you have a sacrifice of American blood, it is an absolute tragedy. And there's no question President Trump has talked about long wars and many, many deaths. You can take a quick trip over to Arlington to understand that what we have built, the American idea, is not free. It's incredibly costly. And when Sergeant Swinton, in that picture of him, with his daughter on his chest that was played, after his death. I mean, I think it makes everybody take a pause and say, man, we have to make sure that his sacrifice is actually worth it. And so I've advised the administration we've got to do one of two things. There's one of two ways forward in Iran. We either have to declare victory and leave, or we have to actually do what is necessary to put the Iranian regime in a box.
Which is?
Where they have to make very difficult decisions. We have not yet set the conditions for that to happen.
Which is what? What is?
The Iranian regime has to be put in a position where they have to choose between continuing to pursue red lines that are intolerable to the United States or the West with their very limited resources, or they have to take care of their 92 million people that are not members of the IRGC.
But is that going into Pickaxe Mountain? Is that boots on the ground? I don't understand what you're saying is different from what we're doing now, which is aggressive strikes, which is what Hegseth has said.
It's completely different target analysis. We have failed in the West with our assumption of how we win conflicts. We believe in limited conflict. There is no historical precedent for limited conflict to actually yield successful strategic results. I think we oftentimes forget that the reason that the United States and the West won World War II is because we killed 37% of Germany's adult male population. Period.
What I don't understand about what you're saying is you say limited conflict doesn't work, but you also don't want boots on the ground.
That's correct.
So I do not know what you want.
You can accomplish one without the other if the administration chooses to. The question is, what targets are they going to strike? Are we actually going to strike targets that put the regime inside of that decision box? Or are we going to hit targets around the periphery of it that, honestly, will probably lead to a long-term conflict in the Middle East that nobody wants to see?
Does anyone else have questions before I ask one more?
Congressman, why are we doing this? It seems as if there's been no real justification for why we're doing this, and it seems as if, in retrospect, what we had in place before was working. And secondly, if the Iran nuclear program was destroyed or obliterated, is what the term the president used, then why are we back here now having the same conversation? Because you all gave the premature benediction to this on victory.
I'm just going to play very quickly an example of what you're saying. Here's Hegseth, a kind of before and after. So we just have in our minds for the audience what we're talking about here.
There is a crisis with those stockpiles right now in private industry.
That is a manufactured story that the media wants to peddle. And ultimately, our stockpiles are great, and they'll only get stronger. We face critical shortfalls that threaten our ability to also simply pay our service members, rapidly replenish equipment and munitions, and sustain vital operations without disruption.
Both of those things can be true at the same time, and let me explain. We have the capability as the United States of America to face multiple contingencies across the globe simultaneously. But when we engage in one of those contingencies, it reduces the overall flexibility that we have to react to other contingencies, some of which might not be our choice. Certainly this Iranian conflict and the timing of it was absolutely the administration's choice. There's something that you learn in the military and that I took from my time in the Special Forces. The enemy always gets a vote. If Russia decides to do something or China decides to do something, we're now into that second and third tier of reserve of munitions that we have that we don't really ever want to get into because it reduces our strategic flexibility. That's actually why the supplemental should be a nonpartisan exercise, because regardless of what party we represent, we want the United States to have maximum flexibility to deal with contingencies that may not be our choice.
So you believe this is a war of choice? I thought I heard you say this is the administration's choice to be in conflict. It's not a must. This was a plus for them. I just want to make sure I heard you correctly.
I would absolutely argue that the timing of this conflict was the administration's choice.
War of choice. That's
the
all.
Conflict in and of itself, I would also argue, is inevitable. And history may record that this conflict happened 3 months too late, after Iran had killed 50,000 of its most ardent oppositionists.
I think one of
it could also argue that this could have happened 6 months from when the president decided to go. It could have happened 2 years from now. Iran has a rich history, 47 years of being an agent for chaos, and nothing more than that agent for chaos. This war was going to happen at some point.
Now that we are in it, I have to ask this question over and over again for the American taxpayer.
Yes.
We have no information about the actual objective at this point. The regime is still in place. The IGRC is still in place.
I don't think that's true. You have
there is still enriched uranium in Iran. The Strait of Hormuz is still in blockade, and apparently munitions are low. And yet they won't even give the most basic kinds of budget lines about their needs. Supplemental, yes. Blank check, yes?
Well, I think the Secretary asked for $37.5 billion, which is a very specific number yesterday in front of the
But Senator Rounds asked him, is this enough to finish this war, or is it enough to get you back in this room where we're having the same conversation again? And he said, I can't tell you that.
It depends on he can't tell you that because it depends on the decision that the president makes. Which direction do we actually go in the conflict? And I think you have to understand the American people did have the goals and objectives clearly articulated to them from the beginning of the conflict. Now, they didn't have a choice in the conflict. That was a surprise to everybody. But we've actually achieved a fair number of them. So number one is to prevent Iran from having a nuclear weapon. Number two is to destroy Iran's ballistic missile production capability and their stockpiles. The same thing, number three, for drones. The fourth was to make sure Iran could not project regional force. That means you've got to take out their navy. And number five is that you prevent Iran from projecting terrorism around the world. Which of those have we accomplished? We've absolutely buried their nuclear program, and we have the ability to have persistent over-the-horizon oversight and continually come back to those sites
and you said
to
that
prevent
before,
Iran.
Congressman, you all said that to the American people before. It was obliterated, it was destroyed, and now here we are having the same conversation, and now you're saying once again it was destroyed. So which one is it? Was it destroyed before, or is it destroyed now? You see why there's a lack of trust between the American people and what this administration and you all are saying versus the real facts that are on the table?
I'm trying to call balls and strikes, and what the administration has said is a little bit different than the way that I'm portraying it, right?
So you don't believe it was destroyed the first time, is what you're saying?
It's absolutely buried. There's no question about that.
The first time it was announced that it was obliterated, destroyed, you don't you didn't believe that then, because you're saying now it is. So was it destroyed then or now?
It's functionally obliterated from the perspective of they can't get to it.
You dancing really nice.
We can prevent them from getting to it. Look, you've got to also understand their ballistic missile production capability far exceeded the production capability of our interceptors. That is a huge problem for a regional malactor that very clearly is raining down terror upon the United States
we do understand.
and all of our allies.
We actually don't know if the administration is being honest about what they need to accomplish the job. I mean, clearly this drone war is continuing, right? Or else we wouldn't be talking about the Strait of Hormuz, and Yemen wouldn't be having Houthis jumping in on the Red Sea. Israel would not be fighting Hezbollah if that also, the state-sponsored terror aspect, had been taken care of. We see a lot of half-finished jobs, and we're again being asked, it still sounds like you're saying a blank check. It still sounds like you're saying, well, I don't know how much I'll need, so I might need some later.
No, what I'm saying is the administration needs to make a decision on which direction we're going. What we cannot have is we cannot have a status quo of doing nothing. That is what we have done through the last 30 years of the Middle East. Indecision, trying to buy time that we do not own, that our adversaries will exploit and will lead to another forever war in the Middle East if we do not decide. That's what I am saying.
I actually have to let the congressman go because we took you over time.
Oh, thanks for having me, Audie.
But I do appreciate it. I hope you'll come back. We have lots of questions about what's going on. And honestly, I'm personally fascinated in the generation of fighters who have entered Congress, of which Hegseth is one of them, and how you guys do things differently or not than the leadership you once criticized.
I would love for everybody to listen more to us and our experience because we want to see positive outcomes for the United States of America and the next generation of Americans, not negative ones.
Congressman, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time.